Welcome back, and thanks for joining us here at the women's semifinal at the 2023 Pro Champs here in Milwaukee. We are watching the Phoenix versus Molly Brown in what promises to be an absolutely scintillating matchup. What are you looking forward to, Charlie?
This is a rematch of the 2022 National Championship Finals. It's going to be such a great game. There's like so much fire, so much competition. This is the first time these teams have played each other all season. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and I'm really interested hearing some of the perspectives, the coaching into this. They've both had to work really hard. This has not been an easy path for them, but have emerged victorious in some games that maybe we didn't expect to see them pull away with. I really don't think anyone expected to see Raleigh in this semi.
Absolutely. Taking a look at the bracket, we can see that so far today, Molly Brown has already played 2 games. So this is the third game that Molly Brown is playing today. However, because Phoenix had the grueling schedule yesterday where they played 4 games in a row, it means that Phoenix had the first round bye from the last round of pool play, and then because they had earned the bye without having to play the pre-semis round, this is the first game of the day for Phoenix. So we can expect Phoenix to be really fresh, but this is the third game of the day for Molly Brown, and I think that's going to be a huge storyline throughout the course of this game.
Well, third game in the row for Molly Brown, and not just that, they haven't had really definitive wins. Like, they've played out the time period in every single match so far this day, and I would argue this is the hottest game of the day, in addition to still seeing a presence of strong wind.
Absolutely. So as we zone in on this game, we have Molly Brown starting in dark, starting on offense. Our wind is a little upwind, downwind, but it's also large. There's a big crosswind going too. As I was talking to Coach Andy Loveseth before the game, he was talking about their offensive focus is going to be really making sure they get the disc to the high side and keep the disc on the high side. They plan on chiseling on the high side and playing really smart wind ultimate as part of their offensive focus for this game.
That's going to be interesting because that was also, big shocker there, a key focus for the Raleigh team. One of the things, though, some reflection back on the day, Raleigh really was happy with their performance yesterday, not just in the wins. I loved that they didn't highlight the scores, but more internally, they thought their resilience and energy were really optimal, and that was the best and biggest takeaway. And now they're excited to see how they perform in these pressured situations. So getting into the gameplay on the field, Molly currently with the disc. And what we've seen so far is that these upwind, downwind possessions are so key because of the opportunity to string together breaks. So going to be interesting to see how teams are valuing possession in these key areas.
That was a really clean one possession hold for Molly Brown. Score to Rina Kawabata there. That is a great, solid play. Able to use the full depth of their personage in this roster, and that's really excellent. So excited for this game.
Yeah, a good execution in the red zone, and one of the things I think we will continue to see is the chemistry of Valeria and Manuela Cardenas in the backfield. I'm actually really enjoying, especially at the initiation of points, and once they get into the red zone, they're using the release points and the leg speed from Manuela, and being very flexible with who their personnel are when they're in those red zone sets. And I like the definition of that it's happening with consistency and intentionality.
Something I'm excited to see sort of which version of the Phoenix roster we're getting is that Phoenix has had really fluid offensive lines and defensive lines so far this tournament. And so we have a series of players out who are playing offense, but does that necessarily make them quote unquote O players?
Yes.
And is this quote unquote their O line? And so since we've seen that flexibility within their roster, are they going to be running stricter lines this game, or will there be more fluidity?
Talking to other players who I'll leave unnamed, but with history with these teams, one of the things they stressed was their impression of how deep the talent was on Phoenix, and that really enabled them, that they weren't overselling their hand by flexing those lines. And the big huck goes up, but Molly is there to make the pressure D.
I really like that pull, how it landed on the sideline of the low side of the field forcing Phoenix to have to like work it off the low side to start.
And I'm also really enjoying that Molly's using these inside backhands here. Phillips had a really nice step around. And there you see Veronica Eater, Phillips again, threatening that. Credit to Phoenix for doing a flat mark, really pressuring and creating lanes where the wind can be more of a factor in these throws.
Yeah, this is an important upwind break chance right off the bat for Molly Brown.
Yeah, Johnston with the high release. The pressure did push Molly out of the end zone. They are still on the doorstep, have not punched it in yet. Loving the tenacity of this defense from Phoenix. Not in yet. Phillips again with the disc.
Lots of passes, that's what you want to make an offense do.
So some discipline there. 2 receivers actually in the area. But it, was that Megan Ives? Sorry, folks, having trouble seeing the number. Now, Veronica Eater there who brings it in.
We are going to note as commentators that from our vantage point from the booth, we are watching the game, the exact same stream that you are watching. We are not able to really see the game happening live. And so the color discrepancy on those Molly Brown jerseys makes it really hard to see their numbers. So we apologize for the slightly delayed name calling and credit giving to some of those Molly Brown players. And this was a critical upwind break for Molly Brown. They are asserting their dominance, able to start the game off, showing that they can move the disc upwind. We are getting a look on this turnover, forcing that deep look from Phoenix, able to get such a great clean block. You could see 3 Molly Brown players there converging on that deep shot. Molly Brown knows that Phoenix wants to shoot it deep. That's a great around to space to Ronnie Ader.
Ronnie, yep. So one of the things that I'll be interested to see is Molly is a team that, I'd say not just plays with confidence, likes to play with confidence. When they are hot, they can just get absolutely rolling. And so pretty imperative that Phoenix execute on some of these, and I'm not sure I'm liking these shots. Like it is absolutely important to execute on some deep shots, to not be afraid of taking the deep shots, but I think you also choose. And I'm not sure that same third throwing with edge that's going to be impacted by the wind. Like there are better ways to do it.
When we were watching Phoenix play earlier, they have such a dominator-centric offense, and they were really successful running through their handlers. And I feel like that kind of an offense is really successful, particularly in these conditions. And in these first couple points, what we're seeing is not that handler-driven offense. We're seeing the I'm going to shoot it deep. And yes, that is absolutely a skill set that they possess. There are lots of really strong receivers, particularly in Sarah Mextroff, who you see on the field as one of the potential receivers for that deep look. And I think that they are more successful when they start their handler motion and use that to get the first third to half of the field to then open up the space, create more separation for those downfield looks rather than trying to jam them into a small window.
So it looks like there was a call on the field. The disc will go back, and Phoenix will maintain possession. Good awareness there by Tyler Smith, picking up that toss that had gone too far. Seeing a little bit better leg movement here from the handlers, but looking still just a little scrambled, not quite the poise that I've seen. Again, one of the points from Phoenix. Love that backhand from Tyler Smith. So going into score by Caitlin Gross, we saw her have several impactful plays yesterday. But I think that's something that you'll see us say again, just playmaking capabilities up and down this Phoenix roster.
And we talked about the importance of the upwind break that Molly got just before. Sometimes just as important as that upwind break is the upwind hold that follows it. So the fact that Phoenix was able to hold upwind shows that they can move the disc in those small spaces. I think that the difference we saw on this possession, or this like second take of that possession after the foul call, is they were moving the disc in the small spaces, which allowed them to work it up the field. And now they get to come out on defense with Molly Brown having to go upwind.
Yes.
This allows them to throw some sort of like a creative junk D, maybe do something different to try to slow down that Molly Brown offense.
Yeah, the teams that were able to do what they just did, that respond on offense going on that upwind side, were the most effective. So see if once we get Molly into that situation, how Molly's able to respond as well. But yeah, already loving this matchup between these two teams.
Yeah, I think these two teams match up really well against each other. They both have a lot of athletic throwers and receivers who are like ready to put the disc out to space, make big plays, come down with some spectacular catches. We are absolutely in for a treat here.
Yeah, so again, this willingness to give go, move the disc in really safe spaces. Though I will always argue that if you're going to do give go motion, don't just flow downhill. Like, keep it towards the middle. Buy yourself more landscape that you can attack.
But I think part of it is they're trying to keep the disc on the high side.
Well, there's high side and then there's being trapped.
Reasonable, and there it was trapped, which resulted in the turnover, giving Phoenix the offensive opportunity that they are looking for.
I'm not saying cross it the field, I'm not saying in the dead center, but just keep your lane open where you still have space to attack to, and then you don't have to stop because you're getting so tight. Phoenix here with an opportunity, taking the immediate shot. Love the execution of that, and that is a break. Hello, Phoenix. Welcome to the city.
We got a pair of break sets to start this game. Both teams showing that they can work it upwind and downwind, take advantage of errors and miscues from the other team, able to capitalize on them. Something I'm noticing kind of early on as we start to get into this, Phoenix is having a lot more of a willingness to play on the low side of the field, and Molly Brown is really fighting to working to stay on that high side of the field. And so I think it will be interesting to see those like two different perspectives play out here.
Yeah, and you saw there the disc just rise, pop, rise. It's really difficult and unpredictable. And tough break there. Samantha Pelletier, a very capable player, and just unfortunately bobble, and then her player being the one that attacked at the deep space.
Yeah, great read and catch by Sarah McGee on Phoenix. You know, that disc was definitely coming in at an angle, had to make sure you were staying focused all the way into the catch there. There's so much jazz, so much energy, so much like fight on this team. And I think there's also a powerhouse of coaching staffs that are competing against each other in this game. You know, coaches for Molly Brown are Andrew Loveseth and Alexi McCaskill. Coaching for Phoenix is David Allison. And, you know, this whole coaching staff has such experience, such depth of knowledge, really brings this presence of mind and this gamemanship level to the background of what's happening between the coaches of the punch and counter punch. And that's what we're seeing play out on the field. A drop by Molly Brown gives Phoenix another opportunity, showing that they can work the disc upwind.
And so that's Tyler Smith taking a shot. Sarah Mextroff is in the area, has an eye on the disc, and does connect. Not the best shot, but when you've got Mextroff in isolation in that space, I like the look.
Yeah.
And also the relative flatness. Wasn't able to keep it down, but what did keep it flat so it didn't get completely taken, still was in play.
I think that the trajectory of the disc, and we'll be able to see this on the replay, shows why that throw works. Because the disc is starting from sort of the low side third-ish, but was thrown more toward the middle of the field, meaning that as the wind is coming back to take it, there's still space to stay inbounds.
Yes, I agree with that. Mextra finds, tracks, buys space in the Molly Brown. I will say this. If you're Molly Brown, I don't think, and your Mextra is your target, play Mextra. She's finding the disc. Just play the body, leave the disc, cue off of her, and maybe make an early bid, try to be disruptive there instead of struggling to find the disc. I think that's your better defensive play.
Yeah, and Mextroth did a really great job reading the tailing of the disc because
Yes.
it was started off with one angle, and because of the wind, it was pushing back into Mextroth, and you could see how Mextroth was anticipating that to get the position, to establish her positioning first, to be the one in prime positioning for an easy reception.
So now the challenge, Molly has now to answer. Phoenix has already been able to score upwind. Now we got to see it from Molly. Very capable. We saw them do it several times yesterday. But this field, again, a little bit more exposed than perhaps the stadium setting.
Oh, that pull.
Oh,
I love it.
And it's still rolling. All right. So
as we think about the gamemanship of pulls, I love those kinds of pulls downwind. You're able to get the edge, have your defense down there to set up, even though disc is coming in at the front end zone line, but there's D that is there to put on that stifling Phoenix D from the get-go.
So Valeria Cardenas backs up. I do like that Molly, so Pelletier there with the disc, that they created this big lane for Pelletier to attack, attacking from that low side into high, and so gaining immediate yards and getting a quarter of the field up just in that one throw. Manuela give and go with Pelletier there. But a lot of disconnect here. You can barely see the majority of the Molly Brown cutters there on your field. Really utilizing Manuela here on these resets. Shot up. And I wonder, tough to make the call. Valeria went to attack it early. I usually like that decision, but with the defender on her back, I wonder if she just runs it out, if she makes a better, has a better read on it. So now Phoenix with another opportunity going downwind here. Can they take care of business? What a snag there. Fantastic job.
Nicole Patterson with that catch there. Really great catch.
So Alexandra Barnett, who was a stalwart yesterday, takes a bit of a shot. It will sail. Oh, and no chance. But Phoenix still with good position here. Molly Brown in their end zone.
I like this Molly Brown separation. I think that it allows the Molly Brown cutters to be able to win their individual matchups, which all of those Molly Brown cutters are fully capable of doing. Trusting, some combination of Cassie Swafford, Manuela Cardenas, Valeria Cardenas, or Claire Chastain in the backfield. That handler core on any given point is going to be able to keep the disc alive in possession.
Wow, that was quite a snag by Pelletier. Lofts a flick. There are two defenders in the area. They have sandwiched, and it is swatted away. Bit of contact there, though, on the swipe through.
Looks like a possible injury, concern about a head.
Yeah, that was Barnett holding her head there. And Marley Akerson was the one in the area. Bit of a height disadvantage there, so Phoenix will take the disc. We'll see if this affects Barnett's play at all.
Second possession for Phoenix on this point.
A shape on that backhand there out to space. Molly Cutter's attacking these inside lanes in ways that can be very advantageous. But right now, Molly Brown doing a good job of playing some tough handler reset.
And pushing the Phoenix players backwards in the field space. Having to throw a lot of passes, but not getting a lot of yards out of them. Excellent deep by Molly Brown.
So there will be another shot up. But again, Is
that Erica Birdsong with
No.
the bid? Don Colton?
Yeah, that does look like Dawn Colton, and I honestly did not think she would get that close. I think Colton did a really good job of hustling down and getting closer to proximity to that disc than I thought she'd be able to. But Molly Brown back in their end zone again. I really love the addition of Manuela Cardenas back in this handle set, just the viability of her flicks and leg combination, and then like you were saying, finding these Molly players in isolation. And a bit too casual from Pelletier there, intended for Manuela. Another opportunity here for Phoenix.
That block by number 24, Emily Prazuki.
So Phoenix here in the red zone. Colton has it, finds Barnett. Running out of options, but we'll pop it out to Colton, and there you have it, a Phoenix break.
Wow, we started off this game with Molly going up 2-0, and Phoenix has now answered with 2 complete break sets to make it 4-2. We talk about punching and punching back.
Yeah, I work with a team that often refers to it as body blows, like it's a boxing match. It's not just the runs and not just the score. It's also the mental game of you keep taking body shots, and you take them, you receive them, you give them, and they add up throughout the game.
Really nice around from Barnett to Colton for the goal.
Yeah, to Colton, and love the fist pump there by Barnett. Celebration. That was a gritty point.
And we have a name pronunciation correction. Number 24, Emily Shakuski, is the correct pronunciation of her last name. So thank you for your patience as we make sure that we are saying all of your names correctly.
So here's a tough one. I believe, bit of a zoom in on Manuela Cardenas here. Okay, heat call. Are we in?
It sounds like we are in heat advisory level 1, and so now that the game has reached the score of 4, we are in a heat timeout.
Yeah, that would have been tough, because if you're Molly, and I think this is advantage Molly here, because if you're Molly, do you take the Cardenases off the field, or do you put them back out there again? I believe it would have been 3 consecutive points. And instead, this acts as a pseudo timeout for Molly. They get that recovery, enables their top level players to get back in. Okay, so here in this semifinal of the women's at Pro Champs, we have Molly down 2-4 to Phoenix. Phoenix taking the lead with this 4-point run. What a commanding performance.
What if there was a game that found balance? Between spirit and sport, agony and elation, like a disc dancing on air.
We now have evolved into a team sport of a game called Ultimate.
It stands by itself in that it is like no other game.
Between perfect passes and devastating drops, like the balance we so desperately needed, we had no choice but to create it ourselves. Long live grit and grace. Long live Ultimate.
Breakmark's team bundles can get your team fully kitted for this season and beyond. And right now, they're giving away free reversibles and free customizable sublimated 5-panel hats. Turn up your swag this summer with Breakmark. Visit them at breakmark.com to get started.
Welcome back to the Pro Championships. We are in the semifinals of the women's division. Raleigh Phoenix is up 4-2 against Denver Molly Brown. We're pulling upwind, giving this Molly Brown offense another opportunity to have a hold. And then this happens. Molly Brown turn, Phoenix opportunity going upwind.
So Tyler Smith here with the disc has been taking really good job caring for and creating possession while still gaining yards, but loving the cleanup effort there by Sarah Mextroff. She takes the shot, beautiful flat. There are 2 Molly defenders in the area. That was Erica Birdsong as a target, had the height. I mean, I like that throw. Really tough, I think, with the hang up. If it's out in front, I think it's Birdsong.
And that grit from Molly Brown, like that's the grit. Having 2 defenders on the receiver is what's going to make a difference in this game to come back. We were talking in earlier games about the difference between playing scrappy and sloppy and when those things are happening. This game is scrappy in all of the right ways without being sloppy.
Yes, I also want to highlight that Molly has now changed up their line. They currently have Johnston, Swafford, Phillips back in their handle set, who have been very successful today and building a lot of good chemistry. So Swafford looking for the inside. That was such a tough window, just really slight. And here Phoenix with an opportunity and the short field. Tyler Smith here knocking on the line. Need to make some space. Instead, we'll look to swing it around. This is a really good opportunity for Phoenix.
Patient offense, waiting for something clear to develop. And that phenomenal block by Valeria Cardenas. Yes?
Yes. Meisner had the disc, had a good opportunity. Phoenix was being relatively patient, but just the physical playmaking ability of the Cardenases cannot be denied. No, it might have been Johnston. Johnston, because Cardenas is out. Yeah.
Number 52, Claire Chastain, got that block there.
Oh, not wearing the super distinctive red orange hairband was what we were using to identify yesterday.
Chastain took the injury sub there, so there was a player that subbed on for Chastain after Chastain got that block.
That's unfortunate. I hope we see her back in the game. That's a significant playmaker. I like the choice to go downfield from Johnston here. It at least changes the field position from a short field, but Phoenix just gobbling it up. And there you see the sail. Wind, such a factor.
Early in the game, both teams are fighting for that high side, and now they seem to be more content to play on the slow side, which is working against both of them.
There is definitely risk involved. So Johnston to pick up. Looks up line, looks around, doesn't like either of the options. Waits and finds Ader. Johnston again. Calling for it, doesn't have a swing option. Finally connects with Swafford. Phillips filling in, but motioned out. And again, we'll find Eder, with the long reach and just can't bring it in. Tips off the fingers. And Phoenix with another opportunity, still going upwind. Tyler Smith to pick up. Sarah Mextra goes for the under, but instead we'll find Meisner on kind of an upline curl. Mextroff again, slinging the flick. Birdsong still in the area, has yards, and will rein it in for the Phoenix upwind score.
Great work by Erica Birdsong right there. Erica Birdsong, sort of a surprise addition to this Phoenix roster that we were not expecting. So unfortunately, Jenny Rydell is out with an injury. Erica Birdsong started the season with Atlanta Ozone and is now playing with Phoenix. There's got to be a great story there. And, a U20 player, U24 player, like absolutely a decorated player and an impact player to this Phoenix roster.
So getting another look here at this throw from Mextroff to Birdsong. Looking more at the defensive loss. Instead all the turns. So the first look to Birdsong, wonderful defensive play there by the Molly player.
Great D by Tyler Smith there. Great D by Claire Chastain there.
The looks downfield, Phoenix just taking control of that space, the tip off of the hands of Eider. Now what I'm loving though is this cutting chemistry timing from Mextroff on the under and Birdsong attacking deep. They've done it twice, and it seems to be a really conscious Mex going under. I know what I'm doing next from Birdsong. I know her throw capacity. I'm going to go hit that spot because I know she'll put it.
And Mextroff really likes her forehand away shot.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm really enjoying the execution. We've seen a lot of flicks go up on that side with too much edge, and it's just being wrecked by the wind. Really good execution of flat touch to get it out in front.
We have a call on the field. Looks like everyone is okay. As we get into this game, I think we really are seeing the effects of this being Molly Brown's third game of the day, and it's only the first game for Phoenix. Phoenix looks a lot fresher and consequently a lot crisper. So this starts to become both a mental and a physical battle for Molly Brown to fight through the conditions that they're facing, both with the heat externally and the fatigue on their bodies and brains.
Molly doing a good job so far of working through these spaces, but the shot from Valeria popped up, still able to be brought in. She will go for the reset. Has a shot. Looks like it unfortunately went down. Shot to end zone did go down. So Molly Brown so far just not having any luck on this upwind attack. I quite frankly, I want to see them look a little bit more small ball for longer, getting themselves more firmly into that red zone space. A big athletic play from Manuela Cardenas. I would not be surprised to see a contact call there. That's Mary Rippey now having a conversation.
The observer did signal a foul being called. You can see the discussion happening between players. For those of you who are new to the sport of ultimate, self-officiation being one of the hallmarks of our sport. Really appreciating that part of the growth and the expectation within our community is that players between themselves can resolve situations even in these high pressure and intense situations. And you can see that's exactly what's happening here.
So one of the things that may be being discussed here is there is such a thing as an I touched the disc first, like I got to the disc or I got to the space first. The question is, are players doing it without really initiating contact, especially in such a way that either endangers or, prohibits the other player from making a play?
So call did go to the observer, and the observer ruled that a foul did occur, and so Rippey gets possession of the disc and calls a timeout for Phoenix.
I like that call. She has other players in proximity, but an overwhelming amount of them at this point were Molly. And so instead, long previous point, this is a really crucial. If Phoenix is able to punch this in, it's a 4-point spread. That's a really big deal. So Molly really needed to find some composure, and I think get their offense ticking again.
And, thinking that you have 2 timeouts per half, and so this really gives an opportunity. Like, those timeouts go away, and at a score of 5-2, we are, more than halfway through the first half. So given the pace of this game, the exhaustion level of the teams, it's a really great opportunity to spend the timeouts while you have them, to collect yourself, to make sure you can put this in and really extend your lead to 6-2, which becomes incredibly demoralizing.
So one of the things I do also want to highlight that I think we might be seeing come into play, not just the Molly has played 3 games, but also a couple key contributors that they're missing. We don't have Gaskell, we don't have Becafley. Those are really big contributors, especially in these high pressure situations. The ability of Becafley to come up with high stall count clutch as a tall target with good distribution continuation throws and good presence on defense. Gaskell as well. Again, players that Molly's going to be missing.
Absolutely, and Molly's run is known for running a fairly tight rotation, and when you are already running a tight rotation and 2 of the players that are in your tight rotation are out, it makes a really big difference. Play is back in action here.
Lovely touch backhand. You are going to see us again, hear us again and again, harping on the success of backhands in this wind. Nice shot to space, and it is Audrey Lyman who pulls that score in.
Love the backhand around. Yeah, I think it's so incredible to look at, the number of points scored in a row. At this point in time, Phoenix has scored 6 points in a row. That is 3 upwind, downwind break sets. That is an absolute dominant performance after going down 2-0. There's so much fight. Getting a replay of this last point.
Yeah, and I do think that's mis-execution on Valeria's part that we just saw there of that almost ankle throw. I wonder if that's fatigue of just not her usual step out release.
Well, and Valeria has such a low release already.
True.
That is part of what allows her to be able to shred marks the way that she does. And, with this wind, if you're releasing it low and you don't get enough oomph on it, it does run the pitfall of doing exactly what we just saw.
What you're telling me that the heat coming off the turf at this point isn't just going to rise that puppy up? Don't think that's how it works.
That's not how it works? Weird.
What I can tell you is that the heat coming through the players' cleats is absolutely a factor. I don't know if you remember nationals from a couple years ago where players were stepping into trays of ice water to keep their cleats from melting. It is a thing, people. We're not there yet, but it is a thing.
And noteworthy, for those watching at home, this game is happening on turf. So not only are we in heat level 1, that is a factor, but the game is not happening on a grass field. It is happening on a turf field.
Yeah, so a degree of 10 to 20 degrees higher than the surrounding fields around them. And the privilege, if you win it, to go play another turf game.
But the winner of the, you're not playing until tomorrow.
Johnston with a rip. I think a miscommunication potentially intended for Chastain. So they'll get the field position down, but just no cutters going for that look.
And great to see Chastain back on the field after they took the injury sub earlier. Such a critical contributor for the Molly Brown team.
Agreed. Tyler Smith with the pickup. I am really enjoying Tyler Smith's play in this game so far. So far has been executing at a really high level in this challenging wind. Not a lot of players nearby. A lot of trust here for Phoenix. Tyler Smith now cutting deep.
Ooh, that's fun. Deep threat Smith.
Connects with Alice Wang. Tyler Smith with the disc again. Finds Meisner. Connects over. Oh, the step through. That throw by Caitlin Gross. Okay, I was going to say something a little mean. Caitlin Gross, go to the end zone. But still, good space. Definitely a field position. That's so tough, though, of Claire Chastain in isolation, in that deep space. Yes, send it. Yes, get yourself out of that short space. But maybe if you take a fraction of a second longer, it's viable. Oh, may have been Phillips, not Chastain. Oh, a swipe. Disc goes up. What a fantastic grab. Gross there, making the play, but the adrenaline maybe contributing. Phoenix with the snag. Justine Neville comes down with it. As I was just saying, Gross, maybe adrenaline contributing to a too casual flip backhand, but Neville making the play. Wow, Phoenix up 7-2, 1 point to half.
Which means it's been 7 points in a row. This is a definitive stomping for Phoenix coming into this game.
So one of the things that the Phoenix head coach, David Allison, said is that he loved the resilience and energy, having to play 4 consecutive games yesterday. He thought for 3.5 of those games, they just had phenomenal energy. Gosh, look again. You see the disc just get caught up, but Neville hones in, 2 hands, aggressively go for it.
That bid by Caitlin Gross is just like jaw-dropping.
Put it on a poster.
Full extension, such incredible form. We have a timeout call here. Second timeout in the first half. This makes sense. This is the point that as Molly, you're like, cool. 7 points, unanswered. What are you going to do? So if you are one of the Molly Brown coaches, what are you saying here in this huddle?
So I'm actually going to redirect us a little bit. I think there's a message of this is us. This is within ourselves. It is not about the other team. It is about what we do, the throws we make. We play together. We play our game, and we just make the changes within us. We don't try to change our system at all. That being said, I'm really curious. At what point do you say, in this particular circumstance, our system is just digging us into a hole? At what point do you make adjustments when you are just dropping points like crazy? At what point do you say, no, we trust, we stick to our system, and we let it ride?
I think it's less about system and more about personnel. I think the big adjustment for Molly Brown here is to use all of their roster. There are players that have not seen the field very much so far this game. And so this is the time that I think that those players deserve the opportunity to show what they can do on the field, because some of these superstars, the Cardenas twins, like, they're not getting it done the way they typically get it done. We are seeing some of those execution errors, and part of that is fatigue and legs. And so as you use the whole roster, there's more opportunity.
So one of the really interesting things for me, if you're looking at team rosters, if you look at point distribution, I think if you looked at points played both ways, you're going to see a really, really high number.
So, we are seeing Alyssa Perez back in that handler space, moving the disc really well.
Whew, Mono with the reach. Finds Valeria, the shot out to space, but it just keeps getting pulled up. Akerson bringing it in. What a save by Akerson there. That wind in that high corner, just so treacherous.
And it kills the drought. Molly Brown has scored a point. Since the first 2 points of the game, Molly Brown has secured the upwind hold. This is a big momentum changer. This is exactly what you want to see coming out of that timeout. And I think that with, rosters that we, like Marlee Akerson, we haven't seen as much of, like, having these players have the opportunity, like, they are doing it. They're getting it done.
So with Picathley going out yesterday, Akerson was one of the players that they pulled across, and I think with just these few opportunities to develop chemistry here in tournament, showing as a contributor. That's fantastic. Newer addition to the team as a whole as well. I believe this is her first year with Molly Brown.
And now we get an O-line from Phoenix, a true O-line.
But is it though? That's Smith. That's Birdsong, that's Mex. That might just be an upwind line. I love teams that do that have upwind, downwind rotations to playing to the strengths of players and make situational roster decisions, especially when you've got the strength of the Phoenix roster. Why not?
Absolutely.
So Johnston with the big pull. Getting some nice yardage out of that. It will land out, and so will be bricked. Tyler Smith to pick up.
I am interested to see how Phoenix does while starting on offense. That, like, will the pressure of this change the mental game at all for them?
So something I'd love to see, Tyler back with Meisner. Titcomb has been relatively quiet these last couple points. Getting the disc there, but again, hadn't seen as much. Would love to see more from Sheena Titcomb. And a quick, brief lapse in focus there from Ellie Kubervik, and opportunity for Molly now going back downwind. This would be huge if they can punch it in. Phoenix has shown the ability to go upwind. I want to see Molly really take... Oh, and stuff. Just as I was saying, I want to see Molly not shoot. I want to see them take care of business and seize this opportunity. Instead, Phoenix gets the disc back.
And you wanted to see more of Titcomb. Did you see who was on the mark there? That was Sheena Titcomb on the
With
mark.
the
With the stop.
Keep it coming, Titcomb. We want more. Oh, that's so tough. Gross looked like she thought about bidding. Just comes up shy. Molly here with another opportunity. Johnston shooting down the line. Johnston finds Capra. Capra takes a shot, does go too far. There was field position. There are throwaways. And I really think these Molly shots are more in the line of throwaway. Maybe the first one from Johnston. Yes, like get it out of the short field. But do you have other options? Are your other options no longer cutting because you're not looking at them?
Get it to the high side. I think that's also a big part of why that's not working, is both of those were down the line shots in a really small window on the low side. And so if you get it, those away shots, if you're shooting from the high side, like there, when you're shooting from the high side, it gives more time and space. So even though that's still a turnover, there was time for the receivers to catch up, making it more viable than those low side slinger shots.
Yes, credit to Capra and Swafford for converging on that disc and really not allowing the Phoenix player to have a true bid at it. And so we've got Sarah Taggart picking up. I am enjoying this Tyler Smith, Sarah Taggart. That's both contributors, but I haven't seen Taggart getting the disc as often. Okay, high side shot, but not enough touch.
But the receiver was closer. It was more viable.
I will give you that.
Sometimes as you're working through this, right, it's a game of inches. And we're still in the first half. There's still time for teams to be experimenting, seeing what's working. Yes, we're late in the first half. I see your face. And you know, sometimes some teams take longer to adjust than others.
Oh, an unfortunate drop by Birdsong. This is arguably the best field position that Molly has had up to this point for a break.
And this goes back to my thought from earlier that the challenge, the mental challenge of knowing that you're on offense to start the point and you have to get the holds, I think that is being a struggle for Phoenix here, and Molly Brown is capitalizing.
Capper reels it in. And that is a break for Molly. No, it is a turn. Apologies. Charlie over here saying, no, your eyes lie. Whew, so Phoenix with a long march to go. Wind gusting, picking up here. High side shot. Birdsong was in the area, but it is Mextroff who tracks it in. We'll give go with Birdsong. That shot intended for Meisner and just a little low. Want to see Birdsong step out for that. You've got to execute these shots going upwind. Cannot be casual.
And particularly when you are throwing upwind, you have to step out to deliver them,
yes,
because otherwise the wind is going to take it into the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to really adjust the delivery of your release point and how flat the disc is. I love that Taggart is aggressively looking for this break side, this high side, so that the intentionality is there. Again, there. Okay. That shot, I believe, intended for Johnston. Just soaring up over. Execution. Have we crossed into sloppy yet?
I think that this point has crossed into sloppy. These teams are playing pretty cleanly, and now there is less of a focus on possession. I think that for both teams to think more about delivering each and every pass and valuing possession of the disc will make a really big difference.
So if I'm Phoenix, you're 1 point from half. Again, another shot deep. You've got Tyler Smith, had yards. The tip from Mextroff. Tyler Smith was kind of in the area, but just not a great angle. I'd almost rather see them make a transition and play the short game. Like, just wrap it up. Take us to half.
These players on the field are tired.
Yes.
And we are starting to see them play tired. You know, we are at the...
Shot goes up. Johnston finally reels it in.
Johnson on the receiving end now as opposed to the throwing end.
I'll take that adjustment. Has Chastain on the reset. Chastain immediately looks around, but no one coming. Johnston does fill. Taggart pinned to the sideline. Stall count getting higher. All alone, but the disc gets dropped by the wind down. That's tough. That shot was intended for Kendra Mitchell. Really flat horizontal shot and just didn't have enough to get there. These are tough conditions, folks. We're being critical, but it's tough out there.
And these players are playing much more crisply than some of the other teams we've playing at this tournament. Like, they're
Yes.
still getting off throws, still distributing the disc, you know, in generally positive ways, right? And there's always room for growth.
The leg fatigue is real.
And it leads to brain fatigue. And I think that really that's what you're seeing here. Both teams have the ability and the skill to execute on these throws, but at this point in the day, in the heat, on the turf, and in this
cumulative.
point, it is brain fatigue that is really like leading to all of these errors. And then we get another one. But
Yeah.
that's a really important short field for Molly to be able to punch in a break here.
And if you're Phoenix, oh, that's so tough. Again, intended for Mitchell. If you're Phoenix, you can't just send one. You don't have that luxury. You can't do that into the wind. I'd almost want to see them bring maybe 2 or 3 back and start a handler weave. Use that to get some momentum, get it out of your end zone, instead of making these one-on-one that aren't going.
Yes!
Timeout for the win.
Phoenix called a timeout. I know it seems silly that I'm celebrating a timeout call, and that is absolutely what needed to happen in this situation. Phoenix had a second timeout that they had yet to use, and this is the possession that they want to use it. They can end this half, they can score upwind, and they can make those strategic adjustments if they give a chance to catch their breath, calm their bodies down, calm their brains down, and run their system. You know, you were talking before about the coach wanting to make sure they didn't revert back into their old system, and so proud of how they stayed in their new systems and their adaptability and commitment to learning new systems and being part of it. And now we have that opportunity, that chance to take a breath to run that system.
I cannot match your enthusiasm on this, but I am 100% on board. No, and one of the things he was saying, not just old system, new system, but the importance of that, not just when tired, but in these key pressured circumstances. They're going to see this again. You know, up, down, there are going to be times when they have to execute, when they are exhausted, and they have to come out, and the ability to say, hey, let's make a plan. We've got the timeout, let's use it, especially if it takes us to half. This is pretty key. So, Meisner to pick up. Yes! Tyler Smith back in the reset space. Hey, third player back also in the semi-reset space. Let's go.
Well, and Phoenix is set up in a horizontal stack here as opposed to their vertical stack, leaving a lot of space for sort of that handler dominator. And then, of course, everyone crowds around the disc and to the low side.
But engagement with Titcomb, I'm all about this. Birdsong in, pops up, but Smith able to snag it. Would love to see a little bit more spacing discipline here. Love that Birdsong came back, completely uncovered. Completes the backhand to the low side. Backhand goes up. Is successful to Mextroff. Love Mextroff stretching this deep space. Now be patient. Titcomb's got the disc. Will look to swing, finds Meisner. Birdsong in the area. I would reset. Please don't try and push it into that upwind space. Goes instead to Meisner. It floats. Meisner comes down with it. And there it is, folks.
Birdsong with the throw to Titcomb for the definitive upwind score coming out of halftime. Gold Star Phoenix, you called the timeout. You played possession ultimate. You were able to take it to half.
That is a huge, I want to say moral win, but just look at this again.
Meisner.
Key play here by Birdsong. Love the players attacking, clearing, making space. This was a full team win.
Correction, Birdsong had the hockey assist. Meisner had the assist to
Titcomb
for the half.
Full team win. I'll say it again.
Yeah. That was a definitive performance from this first half. You know, after a 2-0 start, Phoenix going on an 8-1 run, like that is a dominant performance. I'm so excited for what we are going to see in this second half. Raleigh Phoenix up 8 against Denver Molly Brown 3.
There is a place where we are us at our best.
A place where everyone is welcome.
Regardless of age, shape, skin color, or anything else that tries to box people in.
A place where we defy the odds, defy the naysayers,
and even defy gravity.
A place where it's accepted that grit knows grace, knows bright lights, and knows empty bleachers.
A place where we remember to laugh.
Where we learn to trust.
Learn to high-five strangers.
And eventually,
even learn to fly.
A place where character, community, and competition
are all as balanced as a disc in flight.
That place isn't in a stadium or on a field.
That place is in the spirit of our players.
Because we don't just play ultimate, we live ultimate.
What would it look like if a competitive sport didn't mean a choice? Between beauty and brutality, style and steel. Between calling yourself out and clawing to stay in. What if there was a game that found balance? Between spirit and sport, agony and elation. Like a disc dancing on air.
We now have evolved into a team sport of a game called Ultimate.
It stands by itself in that it is like no other game.
Between perfect passes and devastating drops. Like the balance we so desperately needed, we had no choice but to create it ourselves. Long live grit and grace. Long live Ultimate.
The last 50 years have seen a lot of positive change
around a whole range of important issues.
And some things remain reassuringly unchanged.
Like the spirit of our game.
Ultimate is 50 years young.
And still a perfect circle.
Of fair play,
athletic pursuit,
and camaraderie.
In fact, Ultimate was a social network.
Before social networks even existed.
Respetamos nuestras diferencias.
And understand the value that they add.
The revolution of the disc in flight continues to prove
that there's nothing we can't achieve
when we
pull together.
Long live Ultimate.
Larga vida Ultimate.
Long live Ultimate.
And we are back to the women's semifinal here at the 2023 Pro Champs, where Phoenix has taken a commanding lead over Molly Brown. Charlie, takeaways from the first half.
Well, we have some game stats for us to look at as we're thinking about our takeaways. You know, thing that jumps out to me, high number of turnovers on both sides of the disc. 19 turnovers for Molly Brown, 15 turnovers for Phoenix. But when we look at the number of break chances and breaks, that's where the difference really comes in, right? 13 break chances for Phoenix, only 8 break chances for Molly Brown, you know, and 6 completed breaks for Phoenix versus 2 for Molly Brown.
Yeah, if you look at the number of clean holds, extremely low for both these teams, but they're getting it done. Well, Phoenix is getting it done. Yeah, total turnovers number at the end of this game is going to be rough.
And I think, you know, something that stands out to me is like both the number of holds, but also clean holds.
Yes.
You know, that just speaks to the windy conditions of this game. I think that both teams knew coming in that it was how much of a factor the wind was going to be in this game, and it is leading to a disproportionately high number of turnovers that we're seeing and not very many clean offensive holds.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting shift of mentality if you know that there's a very high percentage chance that you are going to turn the disc. How do you balance your energy output on point to point? With the expectation that you will be playing defense and you will potentially be playing defense multiple times, you may have to be more conservative with your output offensively, but you still need to score. And, you know, do you increase that offensive output on the hopes that you have that cleaner hold? Or do you slow down a bit? And we're seeing a little bit more of that slow, call it grungy grind, I think because of those slower and slower adjustments, the wear and tear on the legs. Curious to see what the pacing looks like the second half.
Yeah, and as we are, getting ready for the second half to get underway, Molly Brown is going to be starting on defense again.
That's advantage to Phoenix. We've seen that be really impactful of the winning the flip, as it were, in these winning situations can really make or break a team if it is a close game or just open things up even wider when you've got separation like you currently see.
Yeah, I mean, so this is for sure the position that Phoenix wants to be in, right? Coming out of half, after taking half, having started on defense, they gain that half break. They get both receiving the disc and the field position of being able to go downwind. This is, it just makes it more of an uphill battle like you were talking about for Molly Brown in the second half.
Yeah, I'm excited for the action to start. Here we are, seconds away from the pole. And someone that we haven't seen on the field a great deal yet, Lindsay Sue.
Really stoked to see Lindsay Sue on the field.
Yeah, was a massive contributor in several of their games. One of the ones streamed had 4 goals and an assist. Just really impactful performance. So curious to see how they contribute in the second half.
Starting in somewhat of a, like a side/split stack for Phoenix, trying to open up that space for their cutters.
Higher stall count and what looks like a pick on the field. If they don't get a really open option here, I would expect to see, okay, I like that high side pivot there from Powell. Powell working with Lyman there, finds Sue, makes it down the field to, I believe, Stanland. But you've got to have these release points. Sue with the save. Looks over to Powell again. Just really smooth action. Lyman to Sue, and there we have it, folks.
We just had to say Sue's name, and Sue was like, I hear you. I have this connection. My spidey senses are tingling, and I'm going to make some plays for you to talk about me. I'm going to show you that I'm the impact player that you believe that I am.
Might have been the smoothest point we've seen in this game so far.
It was a 1-possession hold. We were just talking about clean holds and the lack thereof, and I think that this is Phoenix coming out and showing that, yes, we can give you a 1-possession hold.
I think that's an important mentality to have also of like, I was just talking about, you can get into the mentality of we're going to turn it, it's going to happen. And so the belief that you can keep it clean, and then I think reasserts the standard of that level of play.
And this is the opportunity for Molly Brown to respond.
Yes.
And I think that that is a critical shift and mentality for Molly Brown to make here. I think that so far this tournament, Molly Brown has been playing loose with the disc in terms of possession.
Yes.
And so here, they're on offense, going downwind. The chance to respond is to play tight, possession-oriented offense. Still aggressive. That's absolutely their style. We don't want to take that away from them. But erring a little bit more on how do we make sure that we are taking the shots that we want, not just taking a shot to take a shot.
Yes. One of the things I will highlight is this defensive line we're seeing out here of Birdsong, Tyler Smith, Mextroff, the line Titcomb, who have been so successful attacking this upwind side and just keeping these Molly Brown players on the field for these long points. Really did like that shot, and just as we say it, 3-shot hold. Okay, new standard. Yes, Molly. We like that response.
That was a shot to Nguyen Nguyen. That is like such a clutch play from them. That is exactly the type of performance that we are looking for from Molly Brown to be able to respond and get themselves back into this game.
And also a little bit to your point from earlier in the first half, about seeing different faces from Molly. We know Molly has some depth. Exercise it. Let's see it out on the field. Let some people rise up and make plays. And I will also highlight, Molly has not had a lack of people breaking open in the deep space. They've been attacking it. They've had separation. There has just not been the execution of connecting with those players.
That was Shigley with the assist to Nguyen with the goal. And, you know, these are very talented, well-decorated players. These are players that have been, you know, Nguyen has been on Team USA at the youth levels. Shigley has been on Team USA at the youth levels. Like, decorated players that Molly Brown has in the wings who are ready to be on the field and make their statement.
So Phillips here with the pull. Big Rip actually getting very good yardage out of that pull. Well past the half. Lyman to pick up. Finds Birdsong in the middle. Has Powell in the backfield, but well covered by Phillips. And I think was taking a shot towards Mextroff, but that's the most rattled I've seen Phoenix look. That was excellent defense by Molly. So Taggart will pick up. Gross has the Taggart matchup.
It's a really nice around by Taggart.
Taggart found Eder. Eder resets. Has Swafford in the line. Chisels it up in the inside space. Immediately looks to Johnston deep. It pops up though. And would you look at that? Just outside, and Molly has its upwind break.
Kendra Mitchell with the goal there. Mitchell was playing an important role on the other end zone right before half. It's really great to see them back out there and making those plays.
And this is a little bit more of what I expected out of Molly. Fatigue, yes, but they have playmaking capabilities.
Sorry, last name Miller, Kendra Miller. This is big. Molly got the break. This is like, they got their upwind break. You know, a 9-5 game looks really different than an 8-3 game. And so Molly is coming out of half, showing that they can play clean possession offense and this tight, fiery defense. That pressure is what is rattling Phoenix here and making the difference in this second half of the game.
And I would say that's a big part of Molly's identity. That is more of what they're known for, is again creating that pressure. And even though the score is still 9-5 Phoenix over Molly, it feels like the momentum has shifted.
Quick note, Mitchell/Miller has recently got married, and so there was a name change. Sorry that we didn't catch up to it sooner.
So one of the interesting adjustments that we're seeing so far from this Molly team is the movement of Valeria and Manuela Cardenas over to the defense. You saw there a colossal pull by Manuela. So Phoenix will be taking the disc from the front of the end zone. Again, like this initiation play by Phoenix of clearing the space and then attacking, but so far the first 3 looks were not successful, and so instead we'll have to Huck to just try and get some separation. So now Molly with another opportunity to break. Cardenas finds Akerson outside, will reset. Looks across to Valeria. Valeria with the turf.
That's the second turf from Valeria this game. I mean, I think that it is harder for both Manuela and Valeria Cardenas to play defense. And they played on D-lines for so much of the Brute game and were so heavily relied on that now, like, bodies are tired, and that does make it harder for them to keep their focus.
So a bit of a scramble there. Sue was able to come down with it and maintain possession for Phoenix. Phoenix looking like they've gained a little bit more poise. Beautiful shot there from Tyler up to, I believe, Gross. But the inside look was unsuccessful, and Molly Brown going downhill again. Fakes the big look, instead will dish. The Cardenas sisters going back and forth. They've got Perez open, find that soft space. A lot of communication here. The separation from the handle and cutters like they're wanting to just move the disc, but a little bit of deadlock also from this handler set. Perez working, but the quick flip, ooh, saved by Akerson. Pops it up and just too far for Perez.
But Perez showing that, like, look, I have legs. I'm ready to run. We're like driving the offense with their legs, making a really big difference for the pace of Molly Brown's game right now.
That is where I think Molly Brown should be. And again, I'm wondering if this is those 3 prior games, the accumulation of the heat. Sorry, 2 prior games, 3 games total. If that's what you're seeing in this fatigue build-up. Molly has another gear, but can they find it? Big shot from Cardenas. Intended for Manuela, and too far. Manuela saying she liked the look, though. Invitation for more.
Absolutely. And also liking the field position.
Yes.
That at this point in time, you know, Manuela gets to go on the mark, on the low side of the field, on the far end zone, with Phoenix having to work at the full field. Like, that is the shot from sister to sister that they're looking to complete.
Yes. And I think where they're not an intense gust, maybe that's playable. In which case, hey, they're in it. Interesting. This looks like a set play from Phoenix here to get it off the cone. They've got 2 back, a little bit of a flood, but instead they go up line. Interesting. I would have thought to see a fill there, but instead the look around. Do find Tyler in the middle. We'll look over to, I believe that's Powell. Finds Tyler again. Sue in the area. We'll do a short dish. Sue unleashes a backhand.
Disc called out by the observer.
Had Colton in the area. Some contact called as well.
Sorry, foul called.
Okay.
Not out.
So Colton will stay with the disc in the red zone. Players in the area, no reset yet. Good job by Rippey to fill. So Meisner now with the disc, puts a shot out to space. Tyler comes down with it, steps through, and there is the shot to Colton to wrap it up.
I really love Tyler Smith's play. Like, Smith's ability to grab that disc and then immediately step through sort of the pile of people to deliver that disc to Colton for that easy goal before everyone can regroup and like put a mark on. So here's a replay of that foul. Looks like it was sort of a push out. That's why we were thinking maybe like a push out foul. Maybe that's why it was being put. The initial call I thought was out of bounds. Inbounds. Here's the catch by Smith and the goal to Colton.
Yeah, good self-possession there. I am really a big fan of Colton having received it in that low side on the end zone, then attacking back across. I love when you attack across an end zone, you get it far enough that then when it comes back, and I'll say the wind did push it back a bit, but it opens up gaps in the defense because they're having to adjust and then come back across, and often it leaves someone open. So the intention there of getting the swing all the way across, even it wasn't fully executed.
So if we zoom out a little bit, we have 18 minutes before the soft cap goes on. Score 10 Phoenix, Molly Brown 5. And so we have seen a lot more heart, a lot more push from Molly Brown in the second half. But at this point in the game, the clock starts to be your enemy, that you have to string together enough breaks to close this gap so you are within firing distance when that soft cap goes on. Because there's only a little bit of time between that soft cap, which is a +1 to the highest point total, only a +1, and when that hard cap goes on.
And I would argue that the possessions become even more important in terms of that valuing of the clock, that they have to be punching points in to close this gap, or they are effectively out of contention. So Taggart here working with Swafford, able to get out of that corner and over towards the middle of the field, but a lot of disconnect. Did gain big yards there. Back over to Taggart. Swafford fighting for that upwind spice, but some really excellent. Disc floats up and Chastain saves it. Will flip a flick up. Has an open Bailey Shigley in the line. We'll reset back to Eater. Eater looking for a reset. Chastain is there. Soft connection with Eater into the goal. That is huge for Molly Brown.
They needed that possession. We're saying the same things. And Molly Brown is being successful when they are able to execute. We're getting a replay of this really great offense. Eater to Chastain, right back to Eater.
I love this attacking of this upline space, and the shorter shorter throws, I think, are really so much more valuable on that downwind space.
Looking at Eater's stats for today, 2 goals, 1 assist, 1 block, 1 turn. I mean, that is a solid stat line. Eater, certainly an impact player for this Molly Brown roster, and playing pretty well.
Yes.
Tall, fast receiver, able to get in, make defensive plays, and make big offensive grabs. And right there, where we really saw them being successful, is that they were driving with their legs. And we keep focusing on the pace of the Molly Brown offense. The Molly Brown offense looks phenomenal when they are moving the disc with pace, and that's only allowed because they are driving with their legs.
Yes. And I would say that really has been coming and being continued by whoever is in the resets, because they do cycle through. Cutters can, come back hybrids. They sometimes pull back into that reset space like Chastain, where they really like to originate her downfield. But again, that once you get whoever is getting that reset, then driving, attacking. So we did just have, okay, if you heard a horn go off, we believe it is for a different round, and so won't affect this play. Still 15 minutes to the soft cap.
We have a correction on the time until soft cap. There's actually 30 minutes until the soft cap goes on in this round, and there is no hard cap. So that does change.
The complexion of things.
Yeah. Leaving, really pushing that Phoenix has, there's a lot of game left to play, and that does leave a lot more runway for Molly Brown to make a comeback, which makes it that much more important if Phoenix is looking to close out this game, for them to play tight here.
So there was a shot to the end zone intended for Teresa Yu. It did just go too far. And I think we've seen a bit of a fall off of execution of deep looks in this second half from Phoenix. I would love to see that come back to the success they had in the first half. Really crisp execution right now from this Molly Brown line. So Perez looking up line. Valeria's got it now. Has Perez around, but instead will take the shot into the middle of the field.
Nice shot.
Finds Peltier, who finds Chastain. No, sorry, finds Henderson. And then it is Perez with the score. And the jump shot with the celebration.
I'm really enjoying Perez in this game. I think the fire, the heart, the drive, the grit that they're showing is really making a difference for this Molly Brown offense.
And I will say, as media as a force, we sometimes have a tendency to get attached to players whose names we hear the most, and I love being able to identify just breakout performances. I think Perez is absolutely earning it this game. So again, that look from Henderson, good patience. And I love the backhand dish there. I think is much safer than throwing the flick that could have had too much heat or not enough.
Especially in the low side end zone.
Yes.
Where discs just go to die. The backhand has a
we need a sign, a marker. Discs go to die right here.
Hey, if that's what it takes for the players to put it in their heads that they need to keep it on the high side, then that's what it takes. We need to make a little tombstone, right? And we can just put it right on that cone.
My child will steal it. I'm warning you now. Okay, so Molly 7, Phoenix 10. Phoenix hasn't scored in a hot second. This is looking so much closer than I really thought it could be. And I know Molly has that capacity to just fire off. Love that they're hitting their stride. Phoenix really needs to respond.
Yeah, I mean, in the second half, we are looking at a game of
So that shot from Lyman was intended for Kuberlovic and just tipped right off the fingers. I wonder if we're seeing a lack of focus from Phoenix, but we've seen a couple of these self-inflicted errors. And now Molly with a short field possession. Phillips with the big fake. Looks around. Taggart has been really invaluable in this reset space. I would honestly love to see Phillips just shut her down more as an option. I think that would make it infinitely more difficult. Mitchell Miller with the step around, probably some contact. Did we decide, is it Mitchell Miller? Is it now Miller?
It is now Miller.
Okay,
It
excellent.
is now Kendra Miller.
Miller clears out a round. Phillips in the backfield now looking up line as well. Again, Taggart with the as the release valve to this offense. Carving up, Capra looks over. Chastain right there, looks to dish, and there it is, folks. Molly 8, Phoenix 10. This is a much closer game.
So let's think about a story of two halves. So Phoenix had scored 8 points in the first half, Molly only 3. But in this second half, Molly has scored 5 points and Phoenix has only scored 2. So going from like an 8-3 to what was really an 8-1 run to now a 5-2 run, you know, this is what we're talking about in terms of the grit that you have to show to want these games and to dig deep.
Yes, and if I'm Phoenix, what I'm looking for and what I'm lacking is energy. I don't see the same energy. And again, that focus of just disc in, throws, catches, they have to execute there before they can look to do anything else. They need to get their defense back out.
So we are in a timeout call. We are going to take a look at the weather and what the conditions are like here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at the Pro Championships. What's striking you first from that, Kelsey?
Oh, 95 degrees. It's so gross.
You know, wind at 14, gusts 17. You know, that absolutely we're seeing having an impact in this game.
Yeah, and that's picking up from earlier this morning. I'll add that temp, though, again, that is the ambient temp. That is not the temperature that the players will be feeling down on the turf.
Absolutely.
Real feel, easily over 100 degrees. So Phoenix looking to regain some composure here. Want to see how they respond coming out of this timeout.
I had a former teammate that used to like to say, your brain is telling you that it's tired. It's telling you that it's tired as an evolutionary defense mechanism. And your brain is lying to you. It's not actually true. Like, you are not tired. And now you need to have your brain tell your body. Like, you need to tell your brain to tell your body to tell your brain that you are not tired, because that's what's going to make a difference. And I think that messaging to either team at this moment, right? Molly is like kind of finding their kick. They're still not there yet. They have not hit their top speed. They still look like this is their third game of the day in heat, mostly on turf. And Phoenix really has dropped a beat in this second half. Both teams could use that messaging to propel them for this last quarter of the game.
So big rip there from Johnston on that pull. I didn't get a clear look on whether it landed in or out. It does look like it will be moved up to the brick mark. So Meisner jogging it up. I like the choice to leave Tyler Smith as the reset instead of the pickup on that. And as I say that, the shot to that high side does float up. Chastain with the fake. Gosh, Molly here with another break opportunity. Swafford sliding to keep possession there. Love Chastain's just plant and turn to get the reset there in that open space. I will say a lot of separation here. I know Molly has been successful at gaining those big yardage, but it makes me nervous.
I'm also going to note that there is not a reset in the behind the disc space.
Yes.
All of the
When you're ready,
players
go ahead.
are in front of the disc right now.
What a step around. And there, gracious, there, picking up the trash on a throw that floated way too high was Capra. Oh, six consecutive points. 6 points this half for Molly. They are 9-10. They are starting to exert the pressure, and I can feel their foot coming down on Phoenix's neck.
That step around from Chastain to deliver that disc to Capra, in part, I think that it is a strategic move to not have any other players behind the disc because it allows the full range of Chastain's throws to be able to advance the disc downfield in that situation.
Are you saying that you think it keeps from having the other team's defender potentially poach into one of those lanes and pressure removing one of the access points? I will grant you that. I think that's very valid, especially with the arrangement, like just the pure range of Chastain's throws. I do think that throw might have been intended for Eater.
100%.
Front cone, absolutely. I love that Capra was there and that they had multiple people. And that's so rough for Phoenix, just that they could not collapse on it and pressure that.
And I think that what you're seeing there is as having Eater as the intended target, but as Capra backing up, that's part of the difference in what's happening for Molly Brown. That Molly Brown wasn't having the backup before, and now there's the push to, okay, we're swarming these discs. And so that means, throws go not exactly where you want them to. It's windy, conditions are hard, and that's the difference maker for Molly Brown in the second half.
So Lyman to pick up. She will immediately look deep. And there it is. Colton coming down with it. That was really, really cut. That was so necessary. Phoenix needed that. And I love that it happened so quickly. That was really beautiful execution. Okay, let's go defense. Let's go to work.
Well, and that was a downwind O for Phoenix. And that is exactly how you want your downwind offense to go. And Colton is such a phenomenal receiver in that deep space.
Yeah, has really had an impactful. I think Colton has had a good game, top to bottom. It's been a little weird just in terms of the portions of who we're looking at for consecutive points on these big defensive runs. And then, look at that leap. That was phenomenal.
That delivery from Lyman, right? The fake to the break side to then just nice, flat, high out to space, allowing Colton to box out the defender and run that down, making it a really easy catch for them. Huge credit to Lyman there. That's a great touch throw in these conditions, and I think speaks to the skill of these players, especially when you can deliver that sort of throw, make these wind adjustments, and those are the wind adjustments that make the difference between this being an 8-3 game and an 11-9 game.
And it does look like we have the clock adjusted now. So with approximately 18 minutes, no cap, I believe we said. Do you think they make it to 15? The way these points have been going, it is possible. I'm calling it unlikely.
I believe that both these teams have adjusted to these wind conditions and have committed to possession-oriented offense and are going to play very cleanly, and we are getting ourselves a game to 15.
And as we say that, Phoenix, with a break opportunity here, is on the high side. But also, really good defense from Molly. Does find a release point. Finds Birdsong up the line. Like that cut from Mextroff, but I think had already engaged. Meisner looking up. Barnett is in the area. Sorry, that is Gross with the disc currently. Knocking, oh, so close. Got to make space though. Love the release. Gross again. Oh, they are crowding the disc. I want a little bit more discipline here from Phoenix. Stay patient. Work your system. But maybe bring an extra person back into the rotation. There you go, Birdsong. Doesn't like that look, goes back, attacks up line. Yeah, Teresa, you doing work, and there is Meisner. That was clutch. Phoenix with the upwind scored their first of this half. That was absolutely what they needed, and they have reasserted themselves 12-9. Phoenix over Molly.
I'm really proud of this Phoenix offense, of the Phoenix D to convert on their first offensive possession of that point, right? They were able to take the Molly Brown error and use that break chance and capitalize on it. And that single possession makes a big difference.
So I have an opinion, but yes, looking at this again.
Teresa Yu to Meisner there.
Yes.
Just gut shot, really nice.
What did you think of that discipline there of just keeping the disc within about 3 players in that red zone space? Are you in favor of it? Or do you want more engagement from the stack in the end zone?
I think that I think that both strategies can work, and I think that Phoenix has found a lot of success this tournament with that handler-driven offense, and going back to that system is what's going to make a difference here. So we are at 12-9 in our score, and we are in a heat timeout. So we will see you after we come back. Definitive second half. Molly Brown making a huge comeback. Will Phoenix be able to hold on, push their way to the end, or is Molly Brown going to be able to take the semis? Find out.
There is a place where we are us at our best.
A place where everyone is welcome.
Regardless of age, shape, skin color, or anything else that tries to box people in.
A place where we defy the odds.
Defy the naysayers.
And even defy gravity.
A place where it's accepted that success
doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave, to the determined.
As a disc in flight.
That place isn't in a stadium or on a field.
That place is in the spirit of our players.
Because we don't just play Ultimate, we live Ultimate.
Breakmark's team bundles can get your team fully kitted for this season and beyond. And right now, they're giving away free reversibles and free customizable sublimated 5-panel hats. Turn up your swag this summer with Breakmark. Visit them at breakmark.com to get started.
So here we are back at this highly contested women's semifinal at the Pro Champs in Milwaukee. Phoenix up 12-9 over Molly, but Molly has had an absolute resurgence here in the second half. Phoenix put on a dominating first half performance, just really crushing Molly, but love the resilience that we are seeing from both of these teams and the points of execution. I won't say the game, but the points of execution that we are seeing from both in these really difficult conditions of high wind and heat.
Both teams have it. The question is which team is going to be able to put together the performance to finish out this game.
So here we see the pull going up. Excellent fielding there by Molly. And Valeria and Perez working together to gain better positioning, already a quarter of the way up. Manuela playing through some contact there. Found Lostra, and that shot intended for Perez just tipped off just a crowd of Phoenix defenders in the area. And Phoenix now with another opportunity going downwind in what feels like a third half of this game. Phoenix aggressively looking for that high side, releasing back to Connerly. Rippey was in the under, but looked off and instead will elect to release outside to Colton. Colton rips a backhand. That intended for, I believe, Lyman, and just too much sauce.
The winner of this game, we have 11 minutes before cap goes on, still a lot of fight left. The winner of this game will get to play the winner of the other semifinal game, Scandal versus Fury. Scandal is up at halftime, 8 over Fury's 6. So that is another tightly contested game. It is worth noting that that game started half an hour after this game, so will likely finish after this game.
So I had a different point to make, but now I want to add on to this 2 things. One, do you think it is an unfair disadvantage? Well, no, they're playing tomorrow. Okay, I was going to say they have to fall. Okay, I will recollect myself. And how imperative do you think it is that Phoenix wrap up and play some short points? Like if they can get 1 or 2 quick points closing in on that 15.
Reducing the amount of strain on your body is always advantageous to a team. So for whoever it is, Molly Brown, Phoenix, absolutely makes a difference for them to score these points like Phoenix just did. That is a decisive inside throw to
Connerly
for the goal for Phoenix. Like, these are the points that we want to see happening.
Connerly hasn't had a really loud game, but I think has had a couple key moments where she either kept the disc in play, but Lyman there really having a much stronger impact here in the second half, and loved that look, just crisp shot into Connerly in what was a narrow window and into the jaws of Manuela Cardenas, who was in the hunt.
I have been hating on those inside shots because I think they can get D'd, and Lyman showed the beautiful execution of that inside shot and how it can be successful. Going back to the point we were just talking about like strain on the body, I think that, you know, again, at this point in time, it doesn't matter. Like, Molly's played 2 extra games today, you know, 1 more game than Phoenix has. That's more of an impact on what's going to happen in the finals than, you know, whether or not you can reduce and play 13 points or 14 points or how many turnovers. And in the scheme of things, the more you can reduce your time on the field in the heat, the more you can reduce the strain on your body, the more refreshed you will be moving forward into the finals tomorrow.
Along that line of thought, do you think that the setup or the layout of this tournament is disproportionately advantageous to the top seeds?
Yes.
Because if they can take that top seed location, if they get that extra bye, it feels like it just paves their way. I mean, I'm getting some agreement. I'd love to know your additional thoughts.
So, re-grounding us in this game here, it is now Phoenix 13 to Molly Brown 9. So we really saw Molly Brown coming out and hitting, and these last couple breaks, like Phoenix is showing, we are here, we are doing it. And Molly Brown knocking outside of the end zone.
Taggart there, who has been just so consistent. Apologies, that is actually Miller there. Miller again.
Mextroff with a takeaway on the end zone.
Tyler looking to value and reset, but instead it's a short field, and it is Miller. Miller was all over that point. Mextroff had the snag, but while dishing it to Tyler Smith, just moved a little too fast, and Miller able to take over and putting that one away.
There is so much fight and so much punch in this game left from both sides of the disc. Molly Brown showing that if you give them a short field, they are going to take advantage of it. And I think that we are seeing what we were talking about. These points are faster. There are still sometimes multiple turnover points, but they are happening faster. Teams are punching and have realized that the sort of big, expansive stand and shoot game that they were trying to play earlier wasn't working for either team. And so both teams are being more selective in the shots that they're taking and are doing a lot more of the small ball.
I think it is all over better product, better for them to play, better for us to watch.
So now we have we're getting a replay.
Yeah, so that was Kubrilovic who had that look there. And I think just, again, we've seen a couple players in this when you have to stay focused all the way through, really closing possession on the disc. You can't look away. You can't think of your next move. You've got to focus in. Valeria will take the upwind pull. Love the roller pull. I have not seen enough of those yet this tournament.
Well, and the roller pull has been the sideline has been the hallmark of Molly Brown setting up some sort of junk look. So I'm curious if they're just going to play tight person, which it does look like they're doing.
I love this changeup. Akerson needed just a little opening up her stance, I think, and she's got an arm and can make a play on that toss instead of Phoenix releasing. Big shot goes up way too far.
But I love that Molly Brown D, right, with setting up from the roller pull from Valeria Cardenas to the low sideline.
Yes.
That allows then Molly Brown as a team to force into that low sideline. And Phoenix was never able to actually get it past midfield into the high sideline to attack from, which means that that look isn't really a good look. It's into a really small space and has a tendency to trail out of bounds, which is exactly what we just saw.
Yeah, big overshoot. And here, Molly with a chance to break.
That inside is dirty.
That was exactly the word that came to mind. So now over on the high side, Akerson filling in, dishes over to Manuela. They will give go here, just looking to gain some momentum. Releases to Perez, back to Valeria. Perez looks to contain it again. Perez will stay, and Valeria pivoting back. Nice snag there from Manuela Cardenas. Perez attacking that cone space. Will release to Valeria. Are they not out of bounds yet? That's such a small space to be in.
But it's on the high side of the field.
It is on the high side of the field. Molly Brown so far taking care of business, being extremely patient here in the red zone.
It's a key break opportunity for Molly Brown.
I would love for Akerson to come in and give a little bit more of an option here on this across. Right now, I don't think she's viable. We do have a stoppage on the field.
You can see Manuela taking her time to walk the disc back up, using the opportunity for a little bit of a break.
Lyman on the mark. Does find Akerson. Akerson coming in, making that easier. Valeria to Manuela. Looking for, that shot up. Yeah, no contact there.
Rina Kawabata with the goal for Molly Brown.
And I love the patience there from Molly, making that momentum driving, that they waited to have the shot on goal until they had the momentum up. Really excellent timing from Kawabata. Had another player, defender in that area, but shot goes through and Kawabata's the one that executes. I think that's a missed opportunity for Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, I think the missed opportunity was not getting it to the high side before shooting it deep, but sure.
Okay, yes, I will completely agree with that. But not the more possession-driven that we have seen be successful in this half. Just that shot, again, I think, stay away from it. Don't give in to tire fatigue. Pick your shots.
Kawabata, this is her second goal this game. Had scored early on in the game, coming back on, has the ability to find spaces in the end zone for making decisive cuts. Lived in Vancouver for a long time, was a Team Canada player, has relocated, spending her time in the U.S., has found a home with Molly Brown and seems so happy in this Molly Brown community, and it seems like such a perfect fit for Kawabata, and it's really great to see her shine, particularly after suffering injury from the past couple seasons and having to recover from that and having her take her well-deserved space on the field with this Molly Brown roster and contributing in these high-pressure situations.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that. I love the community and identities and how players can come from such different areas and slot in and find that sense of home and success. A completely crucial point for Phoenix here. They are going upwind. They have had success in this upwind, but not as much in the second half. If they do manage to score, though, they are downwind on the turn with the potential defensive break opportunity. I hear you saying but. What's the but?
The but is that Molly Brown just got a break. And you're putting Phoenix going on offense upwind after they've just gotten broken. And they started a little bit of run, and Molly with their break just stopped their momentum. And that's what Molly Brown needed to do. And so Phoenix, this is the part where their mental game and the fortitude of, are they going to be able to have the fortitude to play possession oriented in this after having just gotten broken?
So Meisner had a chance to pick it up there, instead electing to let it roll out, and instead Tyler Smith will be the one who picks up on the front. I'm really interested in how they're making the decision on who is picking up when. I would love to know what goes into this process. Oh, Tyler Smith, a very low throw picked up by Birdsong. Looks up line, through some contact. Sue is able to keep it. Looks around, finds Meisner in the reset space. Has Birdsong open, finds the soft inside. Colton was attacking the break side. Pretty flat marks here from Molly. Smith reach out, snags it, will take a shot. Had Colton going deep, and it just overshot.
But that's a good look. It's from the high side. You know, Colton, phenomenal receiver. I think probably a fresh Colton might have been able to make a bid on that. You know, it is within the realm. And now Molly Brown, while they are gaining possession, they are gaining possession with a full 70 to go.
So Taggart will poke out, immediate shot deep. That shot intended for Miller. And instead, Meisner's picking. What a grab by Smith. Just plucked it out of the air. And a moment of unfocus by Meisner. Miller is hustling deep. Won't get rewarded for that, but does stretch the field. But the pressure, love that D from Mextra. Sue looked, almost took the backhand. Instead, will reset to Smith. Smith finds Birdsong. Birdsong has been fantastic at attacking this underspace. Smith again finding the up line. Will look around to Birdsong.
The stack is so deep here. There's really creating a lot of space for players to cut around the disc, but also making it hard when you need a quick outlet.
Mextroth connected, but then dumped again. Meisner there. Smith in the area, and it is Colton who makes the cut to the cone. That was a big one. Phoenix needed to score upwind. I would argue this is their point to win. They've shown that they can put the pressure on, and that if they're able to get it, they lock up the game. Win it on D. That's a great way to finish out this game if they can pull it off.
We're getting that replay of this really great handler work. There's the drop by Meisner there, but showing the ability to regroup.
I've loved the pressure defense from Molly on this handle set.
There's the block by Mextroth, and again this dinking and dunking.
Mextroth in the first half I thought really contributed with legs and arms, but now has had 2 Ds in the second half.
So at the beginning of this point, I asked the question of does Phoenix's, the players who are playing O in this point, and I know that sometimes they have some line flexibility, so it's not necessarily strict O line and D lines, but do they have the fortitude to win this upwind offensive point? And the answer in this instance was yes. They do have the fortitude. Don Colton, 4 goals this game. Also 2 turns, but also being asked by the team to take some of those shots, right? I think that Colton's shots turns have been on big shots. I think that Colton has really put together a complete performance for this Phoenix roster. And like you said, 14-11, cap is on, game is to 15. There's no hard cap like we said earlier, so we are playing to 15 no matter how long it takes to get there. Can Molly Brown score the 4 they need in a row?
So here's a question. Would you argue Colton at this point for MVP of this game?
I don't know. What's going to happen in the next 4 points?
If there's only one, maybe. So Manuela Cadenas currently with the disc. Valeria is back in that reset space.
I think Smith is my vote for MVP this game.
Ooh, I like that.
Let's go, Karen!
So Barnett has taken the Perez matchup. Sarah McKee with the Manuela Cardenas. Those are a lot of separation right now. Some contact. Valeria a little slow to stand up. She's shaken off, has taken a couple contact hits so far this weekend, has shaken everything up to date. That contact was Karen Earnhardt. So Perez with the disc, looked at Manuela. Now looks to Valeria, and just too deep. I think that was a really acute angle. So now having lost it in that backspace, Phoenix with ideal positioning. In the second half, find Earnhardt. Barnett really needs to engage. She's kind of been a non-starter here in the second half, she has had such a strong impact. I would love to see her reassert herself. So an unfortunate quick turn, just not a lot of engagement there by Phoenix, but an opportunity to play defense again. Valeria with the cross-field rip, finds her sister, looks up line, shot to Chastain, soars over, but it is still Molly who comes down with the disc. Again, what you were saying of just that team mentality of multiple people creating outlets. Disc pops up again.
Second throw in a row
This
where
time-
it is not the intended receiver who catches it.
This time Perez coming down. Manuela back in the reset space. They are center of the end zone. Looks over. And it is Lostra. Lostra, who had a lot of engagement there, saved one of those plays, and then comes up with the score. So now this puts Phoenix in the interesting position of having to go upwind to close out the game.
And they have a couple chances to do it, right? It is 14-12 game to 15. So at this point in time, you know, taking a look at some of these replays, some of these misconnections between various players, we can see these, you know, the win certainly in execution and this backup from Molly Brown.
Molly also forcing some of these really narrow windows. There were, I think, much easier releases in the reset space, and they have really clamped down and are making this much more challenging for Phoenix. So I'm going to bait you a little bit here. Do you think if you're Phoenix, is there any advantage to deliberately turning the disc, letting Molly score, and giving yourself the downwind, or you just want as much separation as possible and you really try to punch this one in? Is there any argument for going back and just going for the downwind score?
You're a coach. Since when do you give up points? I think that, again, we are not just playing, like when we center the pro championships within the context of the season. This is a tournament that both means everything and nothing, right? We are benchmarking ourselves against national competition, and that matters, but also it's not the big stage. This is not yet college nationals. And so this point, club nationals, this is not yet club nationals. This point is about mental fortitude for Phoenix. Their opportunity to score on offense going upwind and to trust themselves that they can score on offense going upwind. You give it your all every point right now. And we know that this Molly Brown team, if you give them an inch, they're going to start rattling off breaks like they have been in this second half. You cannot give Molly Brown the energy advantage here. You have to close it out now. Clearly I had an opinion.
Absolutely. To answer your question, the only time when I would say it is if you're in Kansas and they're 30-mile-per-hour winds and you win the game by the flip. And then it's just no contest anyways.
But that is not these conditions.
That is not this game.
And these players are skilled and they can throw in these wind conditions.
So Meisner and Smith, part of this upwind team. Birdsong also played. They've pulled Rippey over for this point. I like that addition to this line. Colton attacking under. Good shot from Smith there. Connects with Colton. Has Rippey in the space. Excellent timing from Rippey. Titcomb elects to push out. Instead, they'll reset. Find Birdsong. I'm liking these short decisions, but they're clustered a little around the disc right now. Punching it to Birdsong, though. Smith to Birdsong. That has been the song of the second half. Wow, Phoenix takes it 15-12 over Molly.
They believed in themselves. They knew they could do it. They put the line out there, and that was an emphatic single possession hold going upwind. And that is the strength that they need, like the experience they need to take themselves into the finals to show that they are a national champion contender this season.
I love that finish from Phoenix. They had a really slow first half, just allowing Molly back into the game. But I think in some ways, this is almost a better win for them. I would love for them to just be able to crush, but with a team that has as much firepower and capacity as Molly to get back in that closer scenario and still be able to shut the gate and slam the door.
And I think that this is a repeat of, again, our 2022 finals from Club Nationals. And in that game, the last time they played, the results were flipped and Molly Brown did take home the national championship. And I'm curious and excited to see how when this matchup happens again at nationals, in wherever in elimination it happens in bracket play, that like it's going to be an opportunity for Molly Brown in a fresher version of Molly Brown. How are they going to be able to fight back against Phoenix? Should be another great matchup. But here, Phoenix taking it. Let's take a look at those game stats.
Ooh, those turnovers. Okay, so more parity. Definitely throughout. If you looked at these numbers, you would not think that they had the first half that they had. Break chances, even. Actual breaks, almost even. Total turnovers, almost even. Clean holds, even.
Yeah, I mean, these game stats are so much more even in the second half, which really shows a story of two halves, right? Phoenix came out punching hard. Molly Brown punched back in the second half.
But also the importance of, okay, they got the first half, Phoenix got the breaks in the first half and then had the opportunity to start in on offense. That it just, and even more uphill for Molly. I think the importance of being able to come out hot and not have to dig yourself out of that hole.
So as we think about the context of the game, we have Phoenix, who will be playing the winner of the Scandal Fury matchup. Right now, Scandal is leading 10-9. There was a controversial foul call that led to a Fury break. There's lots of energy and excitement going on that game. So final tomorrow, so much happening. Phenomenal highlights from this game. Players leaving it all on the field, putting their heart and soul into every point in competition. Such a treat of a game for us today between Denver Molly Brown and Raleigh Phoenix.
So I'm Kelsey Percy. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm Charlie Mercer. We're so glad to have you with us.
Join us tomorrow. We're excited to be here. We'd love for you to join us.